Hey there, home buyers. This is Amir Syed. So over the last few years, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of home buyers and really wanted to take the time and to put in aggregation a lot of their questions. I couldn't think of anyone better than Jack Berdan today to be able to answer some of those specific questions to help you make the best decision. So Jack, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about yourself and then we can get right into it.
Thanks for having me, Amir. Great to be here. Amir and I have had the privilege of working together and becoming good friends over the last couple of years. We've done a lot of business together. I started in the business in 2010. I worked for a large rental brokerage in the city. Then in 2013 opened a brokerage. A huge percentage of our business has been first-time buyers like Amir. My business mostly comes from my network. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the reasons why I wanted Jack here in this interview to help educate you guys is I've been able to see Jack behind the scenes and how he really thinks and where his heart's at for his home buyers. So first question I have for you, Jack, is how does one actually pick a real estate agent? How they should go through that process?
No, that's a great question. Obviously, that's typically step one in the process, so it's a pretty important place to start. What I always tell people is regardless of whether you're going to work with me or someone else, is without a doubt the most important thing is finding someone that you can trust. This is an environment where you really want someone that's going to take a consultative approach with you rather than someone that just seems like a great salesperson. Obviously, some of the attributes that make someone a great salesperson can be super beneficial in negotiation, but you ultimately want to make sure you're working with someone that's going to have your best interest in mind, that's going to treat you like they would treat a family member, that's going to tell you to walk away from a deal on the buy side if they can't get the number right, and really take that kind of consultative approach to educating buyers on the upside and downside of decisions they make or don't make.
So Jack, how would you advise someone to think through whether or not it makes sense to purchase versus rent?
I think a lot of it comes down to timing. So a big question that you need to ask yourself is how long do you plan on being in the space? If it's under 3 years, I would typically say, it probably makes more sense to rent. That said, if you're willing to buy something that you'd want to hold long term as an investment, it's important to see that you have something that you can rent out.
What are some common pitfalls that you've seen first-time homebuyers or even second-time homebuyers fall into and how they can be avoided?
It all boils down to expectations. And that's our job as brokers to help set the right expectations on what the process looks like, what a budget allows a buyer to obtain. And so we always try to help buyers kind of break things down into two categories, wants and needs. So I think that's one of the most common ones is just having unrealistic expectations potentially of what a budget can get for them. I'd say the other that's substantial in the market right now is appraisal issues. And it's something that can really end up scaring a buyer. They're under contract for a specific price. An appraisal comes in at $10,000 lower. What does that look like? Am I overpaying? And so I think, educating the buyers in the first meeting on this is something that can happen, and here's how we're going to handle it if it does. It's not a surprise when it does happen, right? So I'd say those are two of the most common ones that we see.
So that concludes it. If you're a first-time homebuyer, I think our collective advice is get as much education as possible.
Find someone that you're going to really enjoy working with and feel like is going to advise you well along the process.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that there's always going to be turbulence. We've talked about that.
Yeah. And
turbulence, as Jack knows, Jack's dad is a pilot.
That's correct.
Right? For many years. There's always going to be bumps. There's so many people involved in buying a home. And then when those bumps happen, do not freak out. It's just
part of the process.
A
big part of it is having someone that's going to set that expectation on the front end. It's going to make the bumps feel a lot less severe.
Cool. Well, Jack, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please comment in the bottom if you have any questions of this video or reach out to us. All our contact information will be there. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Amir.
Hey, no problem, JB.